Welcome to the first episode of Crow's Nest. Not really so much an episode as it is me talking to the mic by myself for an undisclosed amount of time. Um, this is actually my second attempt at doing this. I tried doing it earlier and it sounded a bit sanitized, so I didn't want this to be like. Well, first of all, this isn't going to be like a replacement to the podcast or anything like that. This is just me wanting to talk about certain things in regards to Spy Family or whatever's happening in the fandom or whatever. Mostly on weeks where not a whole lot is going on, or if the chapter itself isn't, huge, you know what I mean? Like only a few pages, or we can't get the crew together, which is kind of a mix of all of these things this week. So I still wanted to talk about it. I still want to, give my opinion on it. And I don't know. Hopefully this will be a more laid back deal than the podcast with all the, background music or whatever. But yeah, so anyway, chapter. Loved it. The two-parter was a refreshing change of pace compared to the very long arc that we just came off of. And it also wasn't, and now that I'm thinking about this again, it wasn't another Anya chapter. And I know that's going to sound sacrilege. I guess just me personally as a reader, with my own tastes, I love Anya, don't get me wrong, I love the Anya chapters because I love the way Anya, or Endo, writes her and the kids, because it comes across very naturally, and I think he has a really good grasp of like how children like really are when they're at that age, and it's a lot of fun. Like, don't get me wrong, like some of my favorite chapters are the Anya chapters, especially the dodgeball one, and I really like the card shark one too, where Anya tries to get the the macaroons. But anyway, I think he falls back on that a little too much. Like if he, I get the sense that like if he doesn't have like a set idea for a chapter, he'll fall back on Anya, which is fine. Like, it's not, like I said, she's arguably the main character beside Lloyd, so that makes sense. I just feel he could do so much with his other characters, and we've seen that too. We saw that right before this boat arc, where he was bouncing back and forth between Damien. There was a small handler chapter, Yuri, Becky. The Becky one was actually probably one of my favorites, to be honest with you. Just because I love when Endo has these very interesting characters that we honestly don't know a whole lot about, and I'd love to see those explored more. We didn't get that this current chapter, but I still appreciated this little adventure that Lloyd and Bond went on. Mainly for the fact that it gave us a lot of character development between the two, and also it really highlighted like the friendship that Lloyd and Bond have, because he's very open with Bond in a way that's not like him and Frankie, because okay, Lloyd doesn't have friends. He has Frankie, and that's it. And as much as Frankie is loyal to Lloyd and like is willing to put up with a lot of his crap, they're not that close. So Lloyd has no outlet, and I think that's part of the reason why he was the way he was in the first chapter and before that. Was just because he was by himself. He doesn't have anyone. He doesn't need anyone. And it's in a different way than the relationship he has with Yor and Anya. Because, yes, technically the four of them are family. Family feelings, all that good stuff. But with Bond is an interesting character for Lloyd because, I mean, Bond can't talk. He can't say anything. All he can do is sit there, wag his tail, and respond whenever Lloyd talks to him. And I think that's something that, as a character, he really needs. For Lloyd to actually grow as a person, he needs to talk about things. He needs to say things out loud in order for him to process this growth that we know is happening within him as a person, but it's not conceptualized for him unless he says, unless he talks about things. You can't just be in your head all the time. And that's another reason why Anya is such a good influence on him, is because even though it's not to the same extent as Bond, because Lloyd isn't saying everything he's thinking out loud with Anya, but the two are similar in that regard. But Bond facilitates this changing character in Lloyd, because I mean, as we see in this chapter, like Lloyd / Twilight is doing things that he would never do. He would never have ran into a building burning for a dog, his or anyone else's. He never would have busted out laughing, at said dog after turning into a wet noodle, which was great, by the way. I thought that was sheer genius on Endo's part. And yeah, just everything about their little adventure was a vehicle for Lloyd, even though the focus was on Bond. It interests me in a way that I really like to see these short stories, these little contained missions, basically, of just Lloyd and others, because I'll say others. I would love to see him and like Anya by themselves more, aside from like the boat arc. Just like him being a dad and being forced to like actually do things with Anya outside of having Yor around all the time, because I feel that makes for a more compelling story, a chapter, whenever you have a person like Twilight who is kind of lost my train of thought there. There was like a whole bit where I just did not talk for a good like 2 minutes. I stared off into space. Excuse me, I'm like working on like 4 hours of sleep and I've got coffee in front of me. So like I said, this is going to be a little more casual. I'm just going to be loose with it. Anyway. But yeah, it was fun. I'm glad Edo didn't like get into like a huge arc with this arsonist thing, because yeah, it would have been a bit overdone if he went that route with it. So I'm glad, like I said, it was just a short mission. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like I really want more exploration of the universe of Ostania, of all the secondary characters, maybe more Yor, with Anya by herself, instead of just like constantly having to save her from whatever the villain is that week. But aside from that, I don't have any like deep observations for this chapter. Although I will say, and I've seen several people talk about it before, I thought it was funny when Lloyd was tying up the arsonist, and like he just like randomly pulled out some like extension cord to like tie him up with. And that was like, I don't know if that was like Endo callback to that time that Yor did the exact same thing during the Inusan crisis, or Endo just assumes that Lloyd and Yor just carry extension wires with them wherever they go so they could tie up bad guys. But I thought that was a nice little touch. Um, okay, yeah, I didn't want to talk about that whole bit with Lloyd and Bond, and like after the fire, and Lloyd look gets on Bond's level and like levels with him, and he's like, look, don't do anything crazy. You've got a little girl back home who's gonna miss you if something happens. And that was just like, that just goes back to the whole character development thing, because that the fact that Lloyd would think like that he would consider other people's feelings, it really exemplifies how far he's come. And it is not necessarily a new development, because we've seen that several times throughout the series. I guess like the most glaring one would be the fact that like he no longer like abandons Anya, or like just like, because even from like, okay, so like the first chapter, yeah, where like he just leaves her alone, doesn't even process what's wrong with leaving a small child by herself all day, and just goes off and does whatever. And then by like chapter 14 or whatever the date chapter was, he's already telling Fergie like, oh, of course not, of course I wouldn't leave a little girl by herself at home, what's wrong with you? Like, very very quick about face on that. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I just think that it's really, well, it's heartwarming, you know. Like, I like the idea that him and Bond can be on the same wavelength in this regard, because Bond understands, like, he knows what Lloyd's talking about. Lloyd doesn't say Anya, but you know, he gets the meaning, and he's very appreciative of it. And just, I don't know, just Lloyd being a dad, man. Like, that's what we're here to read, you know. We just want to see a happy family, and this was just like, just a really heartwarming moment, and like, I would love to see more moments like this. You know, as much as I do love the boat arc, it grew on me. And then it stayed kind of stagnant in some other ways, other areas for me. But I think the issue with it for me was that the family wasn't together the entire time. You know, and like, even though the payoff was good when we got them all together at the end, for that, you know, island adventure, I still, this manga shines when it's all of them together being a family. And even though we didn't get all of them together this chapter, I definitely think this is, like I said, this chapter is up there for me, just in terms of character development, in terms of progressing the Forger family as a family. And yeah, I think Endo really knocked it out of the park with this little two-parter. I want to see more, I guess, parted stories. I don't know if that makes any sense. I want to see more, like, multiple chapter, like, mini missions, basically. With the update schedule that we have every 2 weeks, I don't know if that's possible or that's feasible, considering the anime's coming out. Or maybe, you know, maybe we'll get more anime episodes of, like, they'll be filler, but they'll be like Endo approved, so it'd be like more mini missions like that, which I would love to see that, especially since we're getting a, you know, it's going to be a 2-core anime, and like the first 12 episodes I can assume are going to lead up to Inusan. I have no idea what the other 12 episodes are going to be. So that'll be really interesting to see if we get like a filler arc. But like I said, like Endo approved, and like, you know, he green lights the story. Like if that was the case, I would totally be down for that. I would love to see that. I would love to see more opportunities to, like I said, explore the universe, explore these characters, and just really flesh things out, because I do want to see more. I don't want it to become formulaic, because whenever he defaults to the Anya chapters, I feel like that's kind of the case, especially because this time I know for a fact that Endo had writer's block, because he had mentioned it before on Twitter. I'm glad he overcame that, because I if you had told me that he had writer's block while writing this, I wouldn't have believed you. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed this chapter. I know the people that I had talked to on the server, they also enjoyed the chapter. But then again, when don't we? It's very rare that there's a miss from our favorite mangaka, so I don't know. This is just something that I wanted to talk about, because I do like covering the chapters, even though, sometimes they're just kind of little bite-sized morsels, and we don't necessarily have to talk about it for an hour and dissect every little panel that comes up. So I would like to do this in the future. I'd like to have a little soapbox for me to talk on, just so I can cover some of these things that I think do need talked about. And as far as anything going on in the fandom or the anime, it's been pretty quiet, I feel like. I don't think we've heard anything in terms of the anime or anything like that, so I don't know. If something else comes up, maybe I'll make another one of these. But yeah, so I don't know. That was me ranting for what is it? Almost 20 minutes. Not bad. There is a little bonus thing after this, so stay tuned for that, I guess. I apologize ahead of time. Don't give me and Roski alcohol. That's all I can say. All right, well, this is the Crow's Nest, and I am the Crow, and I will be talking some point again in the future. Thank you so much for listening. Bye. Alcohol was involved, yes, as you could probably tell. Okay. That's the last of the whiskey. All right. Yeah. Into an elephant?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I would like to see more Fiona. Maybe just because she's. Maybe just because I want to see her. Like,
Yeah.
Suffer a bit more.
Oh, I felt that one. I felt that one in my soul. It hurt. I hated it. My top pick, probably, for worst plot lines. Let's go with that. But, yeah, you're going to have to give me 2 seconds, because I'm going to need more alcohol for this one. My ex-girlfriend is here, like, making small talk with my wife. Like, what do I do? Were you singing?
What?
I heard you singing.
Oh, yeah, I was singing.
That's fair. Like, I am a writer, technically, and, like, I don't read, which is a horrible, horrible thing to admit to, but, like, I don't. Can't think of names right now.
Wait a minute. I mean, there's someone at the door.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Weird timing. But, yeah, someone at the door.
Go for it.
Yeah, fuck.
Good luck, Roski. I hope you're not too drunk. Roski? Roski? Roski, I'm scared. You alright?
It was bread. They were delivering bread.
They deliver bread?
Yeah.
Well, Roski,
Yeah.
we've talked for 2 hours at this point.
Oh.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if we accomplished anything. Thank you for staying up with me, dude. I really appreciate it. And I don't know. I honestly, I don't know if this will make it into the podcast or not. But like I said, at the very least, it was very fun. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy your bread.